What's up, everybody? I hope that you are all having a wonderful day. My name is Tyler Adolfo, and in this video, I am going to talk about how bipolar disorder has impacted my sleeping patterns and sleeping routines. Now, for those who are new here, or those who may be unfamiliar with bipolar disorder, it's not like the stigma perpetuated by society and in popular culture. We don't change our attitudes by the minute. It's not like we're happy one minute, angry the next, emotional and sad the next. Bipolar disorder actually involves mood shifts that are longer, uh, drastic mood changes that can last weeks, months, even years. There are two fundamental mood episodes in bipolar disorder. There are depressive episodes, there are manic episodes, and there's also mixed episodes where you could experience a little bit of both. But in this video, I'm going to talk specifically about how my sleeping patterns varied from when I was in mania to when I was in depression and to now that I'm stable. Or stable. I should put that in quotations. Those who've been watching my videos know exactly what I mean, but I'll get to that a little later. So I started experiencing mania approximately around October of 2021. And mania is this frenzied state of mind where you experience symptoms like flight of ideas, lack of sleep, uh, you know, accelerated speech, pressured speech. The point I want to make here is that one of the fundamental parts of mania is going without sleep. You feel so invincible, you feel so productive. These are things that I felt anyhow during my mania. And even at the beginning, I felt these things. I felt like there's nothing I couldn't do. That, why do I need 8 hours of sleep a day? Why do I need to spend 1/3 of my life sleeping in a bed? And that is something that I actually still think about. It's unfortunate that we have to spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping in bed if we want to have a healthy sleep schedule. I know it's a little different for everybody, but that's the general guideline that experts will give is 8 hours of sleep. But during my mania, I was getting nowhere close to 8 hours of sleep. There was even a time period where I was awake for as long as 5 days. And during those 5 days, I remember skipping classes, not attending my job. I recall being very fidgety, but I was also so confident. And for some reason, I was, in some sense, productive. And I wasn't productive in my classes or work, but I had these projects that I was working on, right? And one of those projects was organizing a sexual assault awareness campaign and fundraiser for local organizations that spread awareness about sexual assault. And I was very proud of the work that I did on that. I actually ended up getting mentioned in the New York Times, and they linked to the sexual assault post that I did, that I put together with a team of my fraternity brothers. But during the preparation and execution of that project, I was staying awake for long periods of time. I was awake, as I said, as long as 5 days, and that's because I was so busy organizing what I called emergency response meetings, and I remember sending out garrulously long text messages to members of my public relations committee, and for what it's worth, it worked. We ended up having a very positive, successful post that got extremely good feedback from the campus community at large and even outside of it, because as I mentioned, I got contacted by someone with the New York Times, and they did an article, and in that article they talked about the project we did very briefly. So that's an example of me being productive during mania, but it came at the cost of my sleep. And things wouldn't get better as time went on. They would only get worse. I would end up getting hospitalized, and in the hospital, I barely slept because I had a fear and delusion that people were out to get me, that people were trying to kill me. I had a suspicion that one of the hospital doctors was a Nazi because he had a German-sounding last name. So these were all delusions that I was overwhelmed with at that particular time. And of course, they impacted my sleep. And when I got out of the hospital, things didn't get better. They only continued to magnify and get worse, my problems. In one way, the problems intensified is when I returned to the frat house, I remember barricading myself in the room and carrying a pocket knife on my person because I was afraid that my frat brothers would retaliate against me because of things that I was trying to expose, right? Man, it's so hard to talk about even all these years later because it's so embarrassing, and I'm ashamed even to this day, even now that I'm stable. I still have lots of negative racing thoughts when I talk about it. Like right now, I'm experiencing racing thoughts to some degree. But that's how my sleeping patterns were during mania. I was truly awake at all hours of night and hardly got any sleep at all. And it reflected in the way that I conducted myself. I just had so much pent up energy. It's like I took a pill that was purely for energy, and it just kept me awake at all times. I was getting a ridiculous amount of steps in each day according to the health app on my iPhone. I was making phone calls constantly because I thought that I was some important, distinguished person, and that I was, of course, going to be busy and preoccupied with my contacts. And increasingly, people started to distance themselves from me, and I continued to not get sleep as a result. I felt like people had abandoned me, that people had betrayed me, that nobody loved me, that nobody trusted me. And nobody did trust me, truly, because what I was experiencing was delusions, and it's hard to put your faith in ideas that are so nonsensical and out there and radical. How could you expect somebody to adhere to such strong, negative, unrealistic beliefs that are in conflict with reality? So during mania, my sleep was extremely inconsistent, and that was because of the manic symptoms that I was experiencing. The heightened energy, which kept me awake at all times, the racing thoughts, which made it difficult to sleep even if I had tried to. I didn't really try to. I just had so much energy that it, in a way, prohibited me from even trying to sleep. Delusions that people were out to get me kept me awake. And over time, there was an increasing concern that the world was in danger. I had this apocalyptic mindset, and I believed that I was the savior that was going to fix everything, and that only I could do it. And I became stubborn and upset when people didn't believe me or follow along with what I had to say. What I said was not cogent to any degree. Mania just opened up a Pandora's box of problems, and one of the many consequences is that I destroyed so many of my social relationships, and I do credit a lot of that to the lack of sleep that I was getting too, because my decisions were less rational as a result of not getting good, consistent sleep. My decisions were less insightful, they were less grounded in reality, if they were grounded in reality at all. But let's talk about my sleeping patterns during depression now. In the immediate months after my manic episode, when I started medication, I remember the first one I started taking was Abilify, and it worked wonders when it comes to pulling me out of mania. But it didn't alleviate symptoms of depression, the guilt and shame that I overwhelmingly felt because of the things I did and things I said during mania. When I was first coming out of mania, and this is for me what was the toughest part, is coming to terms with everything that transpired. It's not something that I wanted to come to terms with. I am truly a bipolar disorder neophyte. I'm new to this experience. I've only been diagnosed since October 2021, and initially I was so skeptical and in denial about the fact that I had it, in large part because I was in mania. But in depression, there was a lot of similarity in my sleep schedule at first, because of the guilt and shame I felt, and because I still had the negative racing thoughts which accompanied that shame and guilt. I mean, think about how embarrassing it is to go on your social media account, post on your Instagram story, share on Snapchat to everyone in your circle that you're the Messiah, to hold up a Bible and say that you're back, pretending that you're Jesus. These are things that I did. Imagine meeting with a pastor. I met with a Catholic priest and saying to him that you are related to the Kennedy family and that the government is out to assassinate you. Picture that. Think about how embarrassing that is. That's the type of embarrassment I felt after my episode. I'm someone who's always thought very highly of whether or not people think highly of me. And I know some people are really good at blocking and weeding out whatever perceptions others have of them, and I think that's a very positive attribute to have, to not be impaired or debilitated by the thoughts of others if they're negative. But in my case, it's not like that. I've always been very in tune to how other people think about me, and it's bothered me how people think of me, if it's negative especially. So during my depression, I had a very inconsistent sleep schedule as a result. I might sleep from, say, midnight to 6 a.m. one day, and then I would get up, be awake for the entire day, depressed, laying in bed, maybe watching YouTube videos here and there, but not a whole lot. And I just couldn't stop thinking about my fraternity. I couldn't stop thinking about my university education. I couldn't stop thinking about the job I lost. These are the things that kept me awake at all hours. And so the following day, I would be up till 6. So I would be up from 6 to 6 a.m. the following day. 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. That's a long time to be awake. And then I would sleep from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. to catch up on the loss of sleep that I had experienced in the previous set of days. Things got better with time. As my mood stabilizers, antidepressants, and antipsychotics kicked in, I started to experience a lower degree of racing thoughts. The shame and guilt start to evaporate to some degree. Not completely, but things got better. And part of that was because of a new perspective I had developed, and one that I continue to have now, that has helped me persevere through the shame, embarrassment, and guilt in particular. That perspective is that it's not my fault that I have this disorder, therefore it's not my fault that these events transpired. I was held accountable for them, but I'm not culpable. I don't deserve blame for what happened, because it wasn't my fault. The other perspective I've had is that, people are so preoccupied with the day in and day out experiences of their own lives that it's very unlikely that people, from my fraternity or from my former job or friends from campus and family are still thinking about the way things I had said and the way I acted with the things that I did, because they're so busy with their own lives. So why should I beat myself up over something, assuming that other people are thinking about it, when in reality, they're focused on their own things. They're getting jobs of their own. They're getting an education of their own. They have their own relationships, their own individuals that they interact with, their own social circles. So those two perspectives helped me a lot in getting over that hump of guilt, shame, and embarrassment. And with that came an improvement in my sleep schedule. I started to experience more consistency, particularly around, say, December of 2023. Is when I really started to take the initiative to turn things around. I started going outside a whole lot more. Started off with small goals like walking to get a coffee when it first opens at 4:30 in the morning, and then heading back home, and then that's it for the day. And then a few days later, I would just go for an hour walk, come home, and that was it for the day. And with time, I've gotten to a point where I now go outside of the house every day, and I have the energy and competence to do so because I have had more consistency in my sleep. And I attribute my improvement in sleeping patterns as of late to my exercise routine. I've been going to the gym virtually every day. I've hit a little bit of a slump these past few days, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I've been going almost every day for quite some time now. My sleep is in a much better place. If I want to go to sleep now, it takes about 30 minutes to an hour of closing my eyes, which for some may sound like a long, extended period of time, but compared to where I was a few years ago, even a few months ago, it's an exponential improvement, and I'm extremely satisfied with how far I've come. I'm proud of the progress that I've made. I'm proud of myself for not giving up, and I'm going to continue to maintain hope for the future because I know that at a future period things are only going to be even better. We all reach these low places in life. What truly separates us is how we react to these situations. We all face obstacles. How we overcome them, if we do overcome them, is up to us. We choose how we react to our situations and circumstances. So even though we're not in control of what's going on at all times, we're always in control of how we react. We don't have to be so hard on ourselves. We don't have to assign blame to ourselves when there's none to be had, especially for conditions that are beyond our control. So for others suffering from bipolar disorder out there, or from any severe mental illness, or maybe you're just dealing with some type of hardship in life, don't be so quick to put pressure and blame on yourself, because there's so many things in this world that are beyond our control, and it's not rational to beat ourselves up over things that are beyond our control. Focus on the things that we can control. One of the things that we can control is our sleeping routines. And sleep is so essential to having a healthy, happy life. It's certainly something that can help prevent the possibility of mania as it relates to bipolar disorder. I say that I'm on 5 medications when people ask, even though there's only 4 types of pills that I can presently take, because that 5th medication, in my view, is sleep. In other words, don't sleep on the importance of sleep. When you're refreshed, you're invigorated. When you get a consistent sleep pattern going, you feel better about yourself. You're more able to stick to a routine and get things done. That's been the case for me in my experience. But that's how my sleeping experiences have varied from mania to early depression to mid-level depression, toward the tail end of my depression, and in my current stable state. I still experience depression some days, but it's not as overwhelming. I've been on a positive trajectory these past few months, making slow and steady gradual progress, and I'm ecstatic to see how far I'll go, to see how far I will have come, months from now, years from now. It's my intention to keep making progress. It's my intention to not neglect the importance of sleep, because I do believe it was a mitigating factor in intensifying my mania. Maybe my mania would have never gotten as bad if I had been getting sleep. But again, that's tough to really say in absolutely certain terms, because the mania contributes to lack of sleep, but the lack of sleep can contribute to mania. They both have such a correlational relationship. One goes with the other. But I hope you found this video informative. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please don't hesitate to share your thoughts, viewpoints in the comments. I'm always happy to read comments. At the very least, I will always read them. I've been very busy with trying to make more positive changes in my life, but I'll always still take time out of my day to check YouTube and see if there's any comments that need reacting to, because they really help give me fuel and energy to keep going. And I know that I'm helping people out there, and the interactions I have with other people on here are also, in turn, helping me. So it's a beneficial partnership, is the way I like to see it. We're all in this together at the end of the day. We can't give up. We can't lose hope. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button down below. And everyone, please hit that like button so that more people will see this video. I do want to say, you may notice this video is more grainy compared to the ones I've been uploading in recent months. And that is because my iPhone has been very out of whack. It's been very buggy. Whenever I turn it on, it will just start pressing random buttons. And I don't know if it's because I dropped it too many times or got water on it or what, but it's just an unaccessible iPhone right now. It's just not working up to par. And so I've had to adapt, and I'll be recording my future videos with the camera on my computer, which isn't as clear, but it's good enough. My ultimate goal is to get the message across in what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and that's more important to me than picture quality. talking quality is more important than picture quality. That's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day.